This is an MJA Inc. Investigations warning. This MJA podcast is rated E for explicit. Some details of a case and language used on this podcast might be upsetting to some of our listeners. Listeners' discretion is advised. And for those who are still with us, kick back and enjoy the show. When it comes to working missing persons and unsolved homicide cases, when you don't have a direction to follow on the case, these are the 10 avenues I follow for the curious people wanting to know. The number one rule when you're questioning someone, always check and confirm alibis for everyone who might be involved. Avenue 1, check into the victim's family and friends. Avenue 2, check any spouses, current and exes. Avenue 3, check any current or ex-boyfriends. Avenue 4, check for any affairs. Avenue 5, check for a possible stalker. Avenue 6, check to see if the victim led a high-risk lifestyle. Avenue 7, the victims are sometimes at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it becomes a crime of opportunity for the perpetrator. Avenue 8, the victim had an altercation that escalated and transformed into a living-in nightmare situation, sometimes becoming a deadly situation. Avenue 9, there is a situation where the victim hasn't done anything wrong, but yet the perpetrator believes that they have. The perpetrator becomes so fixated on getting payback to repair the wrongdoing by the victim, any rational behavior is lost, and their irrational mind takes over. Avenue 10, could the victim be the victim of a serial killer? If you have no solid evidence to lead you in the right direction, then everything is on the table until proven otherwise. Sometimes, but not always, thinking of these 10 possible avenues might lead you to another more solid path to follow. Welcome to our MJ podcast, Deep into the Woods. This series, A True Conspiracy, The Mysterious Death of Brittny Bell. This is Chapter 4, Part 1. My name is Mark, and I will be your host for tonight's show. Joining me later on the podcast will be the victim's mother, Donna Bell. We are coming to you from our home office in Plattsburgh, New York, located in the Northeast Kingdom of the Adirondack Mountains. Welcome to Kokomo, Indiana. 22-year-old Brittny Bell was found dead in her Kokomo Manor apartment. MJA has been asked by the Bell family to look into the mysterious death of their daughter, Brittny Bell, and she was also a mother. MJA met Miss Bell's parents on August 3rd, 2020 at the Super 8 Motel in Kokomo, Indiana, out in the smoking area. We talked about several avenues to follow concerning their daughter's case. MJA is a volunteer group, and we don't charge for our services. MJA Inc. Investigations was founded on June 1st, 2001 in Peru, Indiana. In the early morning hours of March 2nd, 2017, Miss Bell was found dead in her Kokomo Manor apartment. She was naked from the waist down, and one of her breasts were exposed. Miss Bell was bleeding from the nose, mouth, and vagina. Miss Bell had bruises and lacerations on other parts of her body. They didn't do a rape kit on the victim. They estimated her time of death at 9 p.m. on March 1st, 2017. They determined the cause of death was as unknown, which they used heart arrhythmia, which is commonly used in cases like this. In my opinion, unknown means the cause of death is unknown or undetermined. Miss Bell was 22 years old, and the old coroner said Miss Bell's heart was strong as an ox. The info we have at this time give us a very strong opinion that Miss Bell's death was a homicide, and there is evidence to support the finding as homicide. What we do know, the death room was staged. Pill bottles were scattered around Miss Bell's body, and the tox report that states none of these drugs were found in her system. The first responders viewed it as an overdose because of the pill bottles before the tox screen, and in return the apartment wasn't treated as a crime scene. It's my understanding that in Indiana, for staging a death scene or for any interaction with a corpse is a Class C felony, up to 7 years in prison for this type of crime. On the night of Miss Bell's homicide, a restaurant in front of Miss Bell's apartment building that had video cameras pointing at Miss Bell's building caught fire. The fire started on the roof and it damaged the footage of the video cameras. We have a witness that at around 1:30 seen our three suspects and Stacy Moore moving her things out of the apartment like she hadn't lived there. That's why we have a feeling that the homicide and the fire were related. If the video footage hadn't been destroyed, we would have known for sure who was there when Miss Bell died. It would have shown them moving Stacy Moore's property from the apartment after Miss Bell's death. Miss Bell kept her money in her bra. Miss Bell had close to $1,700 on her, and it could have even been more. This could explain why Miss Bell had a breast exposed. We have been told that Stacy Moore was living with Miss Bell. Somebody reached in her bra to steal Miss Bell's money, and her medications were missing after Miss Bell's death. Stacy Moore knew where Miss Bell kept her money on her person. Miss Bell had on 2 shirts and a bra. Touch DNA could be found on those items. The family has asked several times where those items are, and they have never been given an answer. MJA has asked about those items and never received a reply. If you're not going to test those items for DNA, we have requested to let MJA have those items tested in a private lab. There has been no communication by emails by the Kokomo Police Department and no replies. MJA reached out to the detective in charge once on the phone, and it was very brief. Then take into account that the 3 people are threatening our clients and their family and making very incriminating statements. If there is nothing to the claims of the Bell family, then why are they getting threats 3 years after Miss Bell's death? The 3 suspects have been trying to lure our clients out to meet them and talk and try to do them harm. We consider this a serious matter, and we need law enforcement to help in getting these threats of intimidation to stop. The threats are being investigated by the Indianapolis Police Department, the Kokomo Police Department, and the Kempton Town Marshal. The 3 suspects have told several people that they were involved in the murder of Miss Bell, and they even named the one of the 3 that murdered Miss Bell. I have already PM'd one of the suspects whose little bro and his hoe have been threatening our clients. I made it clear that the Bell family wasn't alone anymore. I made it clear that he doesn't want a war with MJA because we don't play, to just Google us and find out. Our loyalty lays with the victim and the victim's family. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, our very special guest, the victim's mother, Donna Bell, will join us.
Seemed the better way when first I heard him speak. Now it's much too late to turn the other cheek. Sounded like the truth. Seemed the better way. Sounded like the truth. But it's not the truth today. I wonder what it was. I wonder what it meant. First he touched on love, then he touched on death. Sounded like the truth. Seemed the better way. Sounded like the truth. But it's not the truth today. I better hold my tongue. I better take my place. Lift this glass of blood. Try to say the grace.
Welcome back to our MJ podcast, Deep into the Woods. This series, A True Conspiracy, the mysterious death of Brittny Bell. This is Chapter 4, Part 1. Welcome to Kokomo, Indiana. Joining us on the show is our very special guest, Donna Bell, who is Brittny Bell's mother. Hello, my name is Mark, and this episode is A True Conspiracy, the mysterious death of Brittny Bell. Let's welcome Donna Bell to the show for tonight's episode. How are you tonight, Donna?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
And can you tell everyone how you come to contact MJA?
One of my friends that you and your team done a case for advised me to get a hold of you because they advised me that you do not give up until you get your person or persons, until you get justice.
And can you tell our viewers and listeners how you found out about Brittny's death?
Me, my husband, and the kids was actually driving down the road to go to Brittny's house, her apartment, to check on her. And I received a phone call on my cell phone while we were in the car on our way to Brittny's apartment. And a person asked me if I was related to Brittny Bell. I said, yes, why? Who is this? And then he said, this is the coroner. And I just totally freaked out. And we almost had a wreck due to me freaking out. And we had to pull over on the side of the road. And my husband took the phone. And that's how I found out.
And so you was notified by the coroner. And people, I'd like to explain to you police protocol for a death notification at this point. What should have happened is at least 1 to 2 police officers is supposed to go to Donna Bell's home and notify her of her daughter's death. They didn't follow protocol. a person shouldn't have to deal with that over the phone. It's supposed to be done in person by law enforcement. And how many children does Brittny have?
She has 3 children altogether, 2 living, 1 deceased.
And since Brittany's death, you and your husband are looking after the children, is that correct?
Yes, we are.
And can you tell everyone what kind of a person Brittny was?
She had a big heart, very caring, funny, silly, loved her kids and family. She was an all-around good person, loved to make people laugh. She was just a good kid.
And
a good woman, I'm sorry.
okay, well, she is your child, yes. So, were you and Brittny close?
Yes, we were best friends.
And was your daughter Brittny close to her children?
Yes, she was.
And what did you think about the restaurant fire happening on the same night of your daughter's death, damaging the video footage?
I believe that they are related due to get rid of the video footage because the camera pointed towards her apartment and the footage would show the people coming and going.
Okay. And is it true Brittny had a roommate named Stacy Moore?
Yes.
And when you first learned about this living arrangement, what did you tell your daughter?
I told her I didn't like her living there, that she was my age, and I had a bad feeling about her, and that not to trust her. That why in the world a person my age would be living with my 22-year-old daughter. I kept telling her she needed to go. I did not like it at all.
And so that's the advice you gave your daughter about Stacy Moore, is that correct?
Yes, I told her that I did not like her living there, that I did not trust her, and that I didn't feel good with her living there with her.
Okay. And now let's talk about the staged death room. Did you know how many pill bottles was scattered around Brittany's body?
No, I do not. The coroner just advised me that there was empty pill bottles around her body.
Okay. And do you think because the first responders called it a drug overdose, that is why there was no investigation done on the case?
Yes, that is exactly why.
And when the tox screen came back clean, do you think the police would move on the case?
Yes, I did, because they ran it 3 times and no drugs was in her system. They checked for everything, and so I thought that they would move forward with it, but nothing.
So how many times has the police department contacted you with updates and questions you have asked?
One time, that's when the new head investigator came in, because I got a hold of him, and I asked him to give me a call, and he gave me a call, and that's the only time he got back with me.
And so in 3 years, you've only had contact with law enforcement one time, is that correct?
That is correct.
And let me remind people that suicide and drug overdoses are the new homicide, because many of these cases had to be overturned on the cause of death. In most cases where a death room is staged, there is foul play involved. Can you tell us what the first coroner on Brittany's case told you before he retired?
He stated that the police department was not doing their job on her case right. He also said he believed she was murdered, that I needed to go speak to the state police about everything. He advised me and my family of this.
Okay. And how did you start collecting information concerning your daughter's death?
Well, after we fought for the babies, I started asking questions. I asked so many people different things and gathered up all the paperwork from the night of her murder. And I just started asking questions and getting answers. And like I said, got all the paperwork together and everything.
Okay. And without mentioning names, when did you figure out who the three main suspects were concerning your daughter's death?
When a witness that saw stuff the night of her murder messaged one of my family members and said some things. Also, answers I was getting from other people that I was asking questions to.
Okay. And is it true, even after 3 years, some of these people are making threats against you and your family?
Yes, that is true.
Is it also true that they have been trying to get you to meet with them so you can talk about the situation?
Yes, they have.
And these threats have been reported to the police by you and MJA. Is that correct?
Yes, they have 2 times.
And let me just say, I've PM'd one of the suspects on Facebook, and I have yet to get a reply. And that tells me a lot about that person in itself. Think about it, if people that were not involved, then why do you threaten the Bell family? See, that's what doesn't make no sense. It's been over 3 years, and you're still threatening people. And that's going to end, and that's going to end very soon, or you're going to find yourself behind bars. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return with more questions for Donna Bell, the mother of the victim, Brittny Bell. When there is an ending, there was a beginning. Every victim has a picture to paint. Every true crime has its time and place. Please join our MJ podcast, the series Deep into the Woods, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. Welcome back to our MJ podcast, Deep into the Woods, the series A True Conspiracy, the mysterious death of Brittny Bell. This is Chapter 4, Part 1. We are speaking to Brittny Bell's mother, Donna Bell, concerning her daughter's mysterious death. Welcome back to our MJ podcast, Deep into the Woods. This is the series, A True Conspiracy, the mysterious death of Brittny Bell. This is Chapter 4, Part 1. We are speaking to Brittny Bell's mother, Donna Bell, concerning her daughter's mysterious death. Welcome back, Donna, to the show, and let's get right back to the questions. Donna, and you're thinking about everything that's the possible avenue. What could have happened to Brittny? Are you convinced that Stacy Moore knows the details concerning your daughter's death?
Yes, I am positive of that.
And how hard has the police questioned her?
I was told they questioned her one time, but I'm not even positive that they really even questioned her.
And this is what MJA has been trying to explain to the police department, Kokomo Police Department, that it's a crime staging a death room or to have contact with a corpse. The last time I knew that was 4 to 7 years in prison in the state of Indiana. Our advice to them was to start with those charges and work your way up to homicide or manslaughter. It's done all the time. There is no question that whoever gets charged in the case, they could do touch DNA on your daughter's items. Overall, how did you handle the threats against you and your family?
I reported them, and then we went and made sure we had what we needed to protect our family.
And when that started happening, was it then you knew you had been right the whole time about your daughter's death?
Well, I knew I was right at the very beginning, but that did make me more positive about it. Yes.
And isn't it true that Brittany's body showed signs of being abused?
Yes.
And is it also true one of the suspects claimed he didn't fit the profile?
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, without questioning him and having access to his criminal record, nobody could say he doesn't fit the profile, not even himself. Is it also true that one of the suspects admitted to you that he was at your daughter's apartment at 9 p.m. on March 1st, 2017, and the coroner ruled the time of death at 9 p.m.?
Yes.
And isn't it true that your daughter was bleeding from the nose, mouth, and vagina?
Yes.
Isn't it true that Brittny had bruises and lacerations on other parts of her body?
Yes.
Is it also true you were asked if Brittny had been in a fight with someone because of all the bruising?
I was asked if she was in a fight with multiple people due to how bruised her body was.
And when you started asking questions about your daughter's death, were you worried or scared?
Yes.
Is it true we would like to have a national media coverage covering your daughter's death?
Yes.
And do you, excuse me, do you believe if the right person would just sit down and read the case file, that there would be just cause to make an arrest?
Yes, I do.
And didn't you say that some official described your daughter as the white girl who had mixed children?
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that is an uncalled comment, because no matter who you are, you have the right to live. Out of all the people that might be involved, without mentioning names, do you have your favorite suspect who might have suffocated your daughter?
Yes, I do.
And how many people do you think helped in staging the death room?
I truly believe 4.
And is it true that the new coroner has failed to look over the case file?
Yes.
MJA has emailed the Howard County prosecutor concerning Miss Bell's case, getting no reply. It's a given right to know what happened to your loved ones. At this time, what are you looking for concerning Brittny's death?
We would like justice for her murder. We would like the people that is involved to get arrested and do their time for her murder.
There you have it, folks. The Bell family and MJA Inc. Investigations wants justice for the death of Brittny Bell. That's the end of our MJ podcast, Deep into the Woods, the series, A True Conspiracy, The Mysterious Death of Brittny Bell. This has been Chapter 4, Part 1. I have a quote for our viewers and listeners. It's almost impossible to watch a sunset and not dream. Bern Williams. Always remember, folks, that if you ever get bored with nothing to do, take a walk deep into the woods. You might be surprised at what you might find. I would like to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in, for you all have been so kind. A special thanks goes to our guest speaker, Donna Bell, who is the mother of our victim, Brittny Bell. My name is Mark, and I was your host for tonight's show. And we say to all of you, good night from Plattsburgh, New York.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. There, who knew all the planes we flew, the things we've been through, that I was standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. Oh, how can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you're gonna be with me for the last ride. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong, and what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. When brotherhood comes first, and that line will never be crossed. The steps in on our own, and that line had to be drawn, and that line is what we reach. So remember me when I'm gone. Oh, how can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you're gonna be with me for the last time. Let the light guide your way. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take, the lies lead you home. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began.